All right. Let me just pull this up so it's ready to go. So as I mentioned, Crew, we focus on college campuses, and we want to reach college campuses. And so our strategy is threefold in that we want to win, build, and send. So we want to win students to Christ, build them up in their faith, and then send them out to be lifelong followers of Jesus. So It's all kind of a natural, I guess, progression, if you will. So that's our strategy for reaching the college campus. And so I'd love to share with you a picture of a group that I got to lead this past year. And so one of the things that we do at Maryland is we have there's different communities that freshmen live on at Maryland. And so we like to start a group, almost like similar to a church plant, not a church, but a group that's focused on reaching the community around them, and ultimately leading people in their community to Christ. And so this is a group that I got the privilege of leading this past year at the University of Maryland. And so this group started out with 4 students in the fall semester. There were 2 guys and 2 girls that were involved. So it was Chris, Calvin, Corinne, and Kianwulia. They were the 4 that were involved originally. And then in the spring semester, God just kind of breathed life into the group. And so over the course of the semester, the group quadrupled in size, which is incredible, absolutely incredible. And so it's just fun because of all the stories that God was doing. And so it's not that the numbers expanded. It's not all about these numbers, but it's about so many lives that are being impacted.
So you were the only one as far as the leadership.
So I was the only guy leader. There were 2 girls that were kind of overseeing the women as part of the group. So 2 of our female students were leading kind of. So what we would do is we'd meet together, and then like for Bible study and stuff, we usually split off. So we'd have a community, but then like for like more like small group time, like if you will, we'd split off so we could dive into deeper things. So Chris, one of the original 4, began getting this idea of winning, if you will, I guess. So, and leading people to Christ. And so Chris' roommate Jesse on the other side of me, Chris started talking with Jesse and invited Jesse out to Crew. Crew checked out our large group, and then he began checking out our small group every week. And so I got to have a couple conversations with Jesse, and Chris was having conversations with Jesse, and over the course of about a month, I remember one night, it was a Monday night where we met, and Jesse's like, could you guys pray for me that I continue on the spiritual journey that I'm on? And it was funny because literally an hour later I get a text where Jesse telling me that he prayed to accept Christ, and that Chris got to lead his roommate to Christ. And so it's been fun to see Jesse grow. And this summer Jesse wanted to go home and share the gospel with his brothers back home. And it's pretty sweet, like what God is doing in Jesse's life. Another guy, Tommy, over here on the, I guess, right side. Tommy met Ruth, the Asian girl, in one of his classes, and invited Ruth out, and Ruth began checking out Crew, and for the first time heard the gospel all the way through. She'd been to church her whole life, but she never really heard the gospel. And so at the end of the semester, she prayed to receive Christ, and then she invited out this guy, Michael, who's the guy next to her. And so Michael began checking it out. Michael's an atheist. I sat down and had a 2-hour conversation with Michael at the end of last semester, and it was an intense conversation. He's a smart guy, and so, but it's exciting because he's checking out Jesus now. I think it's so fitting that there's a non-Christian in this picture, because this group every week had non-Christians coming out and getting opportunities to hear the gospel. And that's part of what it grew. And it wasn't just about us reaching out and grabbing all the Christians on campus and being, let's all huddle together, but is that we're reaching the community around us. And so we want to be winning students to Christ. More than that, we don't want to just win students to Christ and then have them, that be the end, but we want to build students up. And we want students to be able to grow. And so it's fun because you see students like Chris who are getting this idea of reaching out, and Chris is growing. And then more than that even, this year now, of the original 4, 3 of them are leading a freshman group themselves. So Chris, Corinne, and Kianwulia, 3 of the original 4 are leading a freshman group this year. And they've had between 8 and 11 people coming out, which is just sweet to see them leading themselves and them taking steps of faith and growing in their own personal walks. So that's been really special to see. The group's continuing to grow this year. We're up to 19 people, and we're having to push people to other groups because we're just packed, which is exciting. So there's many different groups like this in Crew, so this is just one of many groups. And so we're able to put them in other groups so they can get poured into a little bit better. But so with building, one of the main things that we do is discipleship. So we'll meet up with students one-on-one and kind of just help to pour into them and invest in their lives and help them to grow. We also have a retreat So a fall retreat where they can go and get a good time in community. We have a winter conference called Radiate, which is a 4-day conference where they get to hear biblical teaching and grow in community together. And then we also have Big Break, which is our spring break trip, which is where we go to Panama City Beach, Florida, which is one of the largest party locations for spring break in the world. And students go there and they share the gospel with students on the beach, other students on the beach. And so they begin to get to go out and do ministry themselves. We also have summer projects. I got to go on 2 as a student, which were incredibly foundational in my walk with Jesus. But to help them So I got to go on 2 summer projects as a student, which were incredibly foundational in my walk with Jesus and helping me to understand the idea of reaching out to other people and giving me a heart to reach people who are just who are at the same place that I was in. So we want to win students to Christ. We want to build them up, and then finally we want to send them out. So we don't want to make 4-year disciples, but we want to make lifelong disciples. Our vision at Maryland Crew is to make lifelong disciples to change the campus and the world. And so we want to help students to walk with Jesus for a lifetime. And so with that, part of our building is strategically so that they can walk with Jesus for a lifetime. And so ultimately we're going to be sending out missionaries in all different parts of the workforce in the world. So in this picture, if you look at, there's a guy, Chad, in the yellow shirt, who's currently leading the group while I'm gone. He's graduating in December from Maryland, and he will be spending a year of his life in Australia, working for Crew and sharing the gospel with college students there. And so it's exciting because, really in this picture you see wind, build, and send, because you see Chad going out and making an impact in Australia in just a few months. And so it's exciting because Maryland has impacted every continent in the world. So we've had people impact Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa, South America, North America. We haven't gone to Antarctica yet, but maybe one day.
As soon as there's a colonization,
Yeah.
there's a colony of people there, then maybe.
Exactly. But it's fun because there's one campus in Maryland and we're impacting the entire world, which is pretty incredible. But so we don't want to just raise up missionaries in the sense of formal missionaries, but we want to raise up missionaries in every part of the workforce. So we want to raise up engineers and teachers and doctors and lawyers and everything that go to all different parts of the workplace to impact them. And so another guy this past year that I got to disciple, Marcus. Marcus graduated and he's now back in Texas getting his MBA, and he's getting ready to start a career as a businessman. And so it's sweet because that's another story of somebody else that is going into the business field and can make an impact with the gospel. And so it's fun because we're sending out people not just across the world, but in all different parts of society, because ultimately we want to send students out to impact the world. And so it's fun because, as you can see at Maryland Crew, which is one sliver of the big crew, if you will, it's fun because God is raising up laborers, winning students to Christ, building them up in their faith, and then sending them out to change the campus and to change the world.
And that's just one campus.
Yeah.
Imagine all the campuses that Crew have impacted.
Yeah.
And then start Crew organizations on those countries, campuses, colleges from other countries. It's incredible.
Yeah. And it's fun to be a part of, and it's exciting what God is doing. Yeah, absolutely.